This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so welcome again to those who have come out tonight. The seminar won't be too long. I appreciate you wanting to know more information about your body. And today we're going to talk about the liver. This is part one series of a two-part seminar. And I've actually connected with Keen and the part that I want her to share of her testimony. I'll share a bit of it today, but she'll come on live as part two of the seminar next week. Because it will be a lot more relevant. I need us, before we begin to understand how to really cleanse and detox the liver, we have to understand what is the liver doing and how can I help it and how can I inhibit it. And I never want anyone to ever think that in order to detoxify the body, you have to take a break from eating and go on a fast. Your body is at work detoxifying every single day. It's what it does, and it does it in not just the liver, and we're going to learn some other amazing ways. So yes, we're going to talk next week about some very strong and more aggressive detoxes, but today, just by eating properly, you can actually help to detoxify your liver. What does the liver need? Is there certain vitamins or nutrients that it uses? And how does it detoxify? This is very important foundational information that we need to know in order to understand why at the Energy Shack we promote taking 2, 3, 5, or for some of my precious clients, 10-day fasts. But it's very important to understand the whys, not just the hows. So let's get into the seminar. And I'm going to turn my screen off during it, just because there is lots of information, and I want you guys to be able to really see the full thing. So let's get into this and understand all about the liver and its detoxification process, because this is so important. And just a reminder to put your questions in the chat as we go, and I will answer them as best as I can. So the liver, understanding that every single day, you and I are breathing, taking in, eating, and creating toxins. So whether it's medication that we're taking, or believe it or not, supplements, whether it's just breathing, because that everybody's doing every day or you wouldn't be here. So our cars give off pollutants, the air we breathe from all the smokestacks and the pollution, the things we put on our body, the creams, the stuff we put in our hair, the chemicals that come inside that are in our hand soap, that's in our dish soap, that's in our fabric softener and our laundry soap. These are all toxins. As we, especially in this day and age that we're living in, we're spraying Lysol everywhere. We're using hand sanitizer. We are using disinfectant all over the place. Understand that although, it's not killing chemicals with water, it's not killing toxins with water, it's using chemicals. All of these chemicals, whether it's through respiration, breathing it in, or many times it goes through our mouth, like the pesticides. As you can see, these farmer helpers here, they're covered up totally and completely. Why? Because they're spraying pesticides on our food. So it's very real. That gets into our body. And is this stuff scary? Yes, to some degree, for sure it is. But the reality is that you and I were designed in such an incredible way that our body has the ability to actually take highly toxic pollutants and chemicals and bring them down to a substance that can then be absorbed into the human body, and here's the best thing, eliminated. It sure can. Now, the reality of most of our life is that we take a lot of medication. We are driving cars and breathing in pollutants more than I believe the human body was ever supposed to receive. we have so many pesticides and herbicides that are on our fruits and vegetables. And we're highly stressed, and that creates a lot of toxins as well. We wear makeup, we wear deodorant, we put on hand cream, we put on body cream. So our system is bombarded with toxins every day. And I think we do need to be able to take a real step back once we understand how the liver works and say, what in my control can I do to reduce the amount of toxins that I take in? Because you'll never be able to eliminate them all. Like I said, even if you choose not to drive and buy all organic food and take no medication and use only natural things on your hair, your skin, your nails, and even as your laundry soap, as soon as you breathe outside, you are going to get toxins in your body because somebody else is driving. And, we need the factories and all of the things that produce pollution. So, but there are certain things that I'd like you to start reflecting through part one. What can I do to reduce my toxic impact and my pollutant impact into my body? Because it's very real. And also, how can we help the body detoxify our system from these pollutants? Is there anything we can do? And if so, what can we do? Because does the body do this all by itself? Or are there things that we actually can do? So understanding that there are many detoxification organs in the body: the skin, the lungs, the spleen, the kidney, the lymphatic system, your intestinal tract, the colon. There are many detoxification organs in the body. The lungs purify so much of that blood by breathing in oxygen and expelling it. I mean, the lungs in itself, that's a whole seminar just on its own. Understanding deep breathing, understanding why it's important to constantly go and get fresh air through the day. But anyway, this is a seminar on the liver, but I would like to know from you guys, what is the largest detox organ? Does anybody know what the largest detox organ is? You can just put it in the chat, or you can unmute and say it out loud. Anybody, largest detox organ? Jacinta, you're the winner of my smile. Yes, you won my smile. Congratulations. So that's correct. It is the skin. Okay, so the skin is the largest detox organ. I want you to take that in for a minute, and I want you to think about, and thank you to Vibrant Blue Oils for letting me use this picture on the slide, but I want you to think about that. You are completely covered in skin. And the skin is full of tons of pores. In fact, your feet have the largest pores. And so those little pores are there, of course, to let toxins come out. But here is the reality, is that those pores also allow toxins to come in. That is also a reality. So I'm just getting some feedback, so I'm just going to mute you here. So understanding that what we put on the skin does matter. And in the new year, we are going to have a seminar. I will share with you some of the natural things that you can use so that you are not loading yourself with chemicals every day. Again, trying to be intentional about reducing that toxic impact on the body because it's so important. So outside of the largest detox organ, what is the primary detox organ? Does anybody know what the primary detox organ is for detoxification and getting rid of toxins in the body? Anybody know what that would be? You can again just unmute or put it in the chat. Anybody know what that is? Mark actually already said it. What's that?
The liver.
The liver. Yay! Excellent. And you win my smile again. Good job. And my hand clap. So that's excellent. That's right. So it is the liver. And so folks, we do need to understand the liver. This is very important. It's a very large organ that sits on the right side of the stomach. It weighs about 3 pounds. And get this, it filters about 2 quarts of blood every single hour. That's amazing. So it's like reddish brown in color. For anybody who's seen a liver or a doctor who's touched one, it's very rubbery to the touch. And most people don't actually feel their liver. Sometimes you can feel your kidney or your stomach's bloated, you can feel it. But usually because it's protected by the rib cage, most people don't feel it. So it also has 2 very large sections. So you have the right lobe and you also have the left lobe. The gallbladder, as you can see, sits right under the liver, but it also connects to parts of the pancreas, the intestinal tract as well. And they actually work to digest food, to process nutrients, to absorb, to give you energy. So we're going to talk about, you know, what the liver does and why it's important. And thank you to WebMD for letting me use this picture. So what does the liver do? The liver does a lot of things. So number one, it cleanses your blood. So it metabolizes things like alcohol, any kind of medication you take, all those capsules from your vitamins and nutrients, which by the way, only about 25% is absorbed in the system. So the rest is going through a waste process. It's cleansing the blood from the chemicals that we ingest. It neutralizes and it destroys poisons, which would include alcoholic substances. Vinegar is a poison to the liver. So it tries to neutralize those and metabolize those so that it can go into the bloodstream without wreaking too much havoc. The liver also regulates your energy. So it actually stores glucose into glycogen, and it also supplies glucose for the body. So now it's taking your food, turning it into glucose, so you and I have energy. And as I'm saying this, I want you to be thinking in a practical way. So if that means it gives me, it helps to supply me with energy, if the liver is not functioning properly, or if my energy is feeling low, could it be that my liver is not functioning properly? Very possibly. It also manufactures proteins. Many of the essential proteins, all 8 amino acids, are necessary for forming a complete protein, but it also transports these substances and proteins to the rest of your body so that you aren't having blood clots and your blood is able to resist infections. It manufactures those proteins, as I mentioned, and it regulates your hormones, including your sex hormones, your thyroid hormones, your cortisol, your adrenaline. So when there's too much adrenaline, when there's too much cortisol, of course, it's inhibiting the liver from functioning because that's too much. So it actually also, though, it balances those hormones. So if you're having a hormone imbalance, your thyroid's not functioning properly, your cortisol is low, you're having any kind of adrenal fatigue, understand if you're having also issues with reproduction or any kind of sexual behaviors that are healthy. The liver could be compromised if your hormones are not being balanced properly. Another big one is that it regulates your body's cholesterol. So it produces cholesterol. I don't know how many people know that we need cholesterol. But guess what? We produce all our own cholesterol. So when you eat animals who, by classification, produce their own cholesterol, you get theirs plus yours. And that's generally how high cholesterol happens, by the way. But cholesterol is so important. It's so important for the conversion. It's important for the conversion of vitamin D. It's important for bile production. It's important for so many things. Cholesterol is used as a fatty substance to protect your organs, to protect your cells from damaging chemicals. Cholesterol is just used in so many ways for the brain pathways, so it is absolutely necessary. And your liver actually regulates the supply and produces and excretes that cholesterol. It regulates, spelling mistake there, but it regulates your vitamin supply and storage. So it actually will store. You know, you're outside in the summer, all summer long, you're getting all this vitamin D, and your body's like, I don't need this much vitamin D. But when winter hits, you sure do. It will actually store those vitamin Ds. So it's very important that you understand that your liver actually stores the extra vitamins that you have and supplies them when they're needed. And these are mostly your fat soluble vitamins. Your water soluble vitamins cannot really be stored like that. And then of course it produces bile. And this is very important because bile helps your body to digest fats. And that is part of it. So of course, understanding that the greatest science in all the world cannot figure out this incredible body that God has made. So the liver does a whole lot more than that. But how important it is for us to have a healthy liver. So again, I want to thank BeWellAssociates.com for this wonderful picture that I've been able to use. But I want you to understand that there are generally two accepted phases of detoxification. I'm going to talk about the third phase, which many people will mention it. I'm not the only one that calls it a third phase, but understanding that when toxins, chemicals come into the body through the digestive system, through the airways of your body, through the pores of your skin, your body takes those and brings them to the liver. Like, Dad, we need help because we've got some more toxins here. She's been ingesting too many, breathing too many, or ate too many. So what the liver does is basically during phase 1 and phase 2, it's using lipid-soluble molecules. So basically, by using fatty substances, the toxins are taken into a series of I guess you can call them, like, they're called cytochromes, but they're like these tunnels that are inside your liver that actually have a whole bunch of enzymes in it. I really don't like to use, not that I know them all, but don't like to use all of this medical terminology because I want it to come down to your level. So understanding that they go through these enzyme actions and reactions which occur in these tunnels, these cytochromes, that start to break these toxins down. Now, in order to do that, it doesn't happen by magic, and it certainly doesn't happen all by itself. Your body uses the vitamins and nutrients that you give it in order for phase 1 to happen. B vitamins, folic acids, antioxidants, vitamin E, vitamin C. So thinking about this, I want you guys to think about this very practically. If I do not have enough B vitamins in my diet, if I don't have enough folic acid in my diet, if I don't have enough antioxidants in my diet, vitamin E or vitamin C, phase 1 of your liver, of detoxifying, taking those chemicals that naturally come through, as we talked about today, your body has to break that down in phase 1 in order to go to phase 2. And here's the crazy thing about phase 1 is as your body is breaking these chemicals and toxins in phase 1, it's breaking them apart molecule by molecule. And I'm going to tell you that it makes it, for the most part, even more toxic, but that's necessary. So as it goes from phase 1, it begins to take these incredible toxins as it's being metabolized through there, and it brings it to phase 2. Now, phase 2 immediately takes these toxins that are now super toxic and highly reactive, and it breaks them down using, again, some fatty substances as well from your cholesterol, and it takes them and it's trying to bring them down now into metabolic functions and molecules that are now also water soluble. So now it can be brought into the bloodstream. So it's taking these highly reactive chemicals and it is breaking them down through more enzyme action so that these highly reactive molecules that were just taken apart to, their highest phase of whatever poisons they are, but phase 2 now, using other amino acids and more antioxidants and sulfur, uses them and breaks those down into water soluble. For the most part, there's still some lipids in there, there's still some fats in there, so that it can enter into the bloodstream. So let's look at this in kind of a phase 1. So phase 1 for your liver needs B vitamins, folic acids, antioxidants, it needs carotenoids, it needs vitamin E, and it needs vitamin C. These are the nutrients, for the most part, that are needed through phase 1. So now your body's taking poisons, breaking them down into molecules that are highly reactive, and it enters into phase 2. For those highly reactive substances to then go back into the bloodstream, because we're going to talk about that in a minute, it's using sulfur, it's using amino acids, it's using, I'm not going to say that right, and phytochemicals. So these 4 are so important for you to take your toxins and bring them down to a state, because it doesn't stay in the liver, folks. It has to now leave the liver, go to the kidney, or be excreted out of the bowels without you basically blowing up. So in order to do this, we need to make sure that we have enough sulfur in our diet, that we have enough amino acids, that we have enough phytochemicals, and that glutathione is also a phytochemical. It's actually an antioxidant that, believe it or not, can only be found in plants. Imagine that. So now I'm going to bring you to phase 3. Phase 3 is so important because what does your body do in phase 3? It's allowing it to enter back into the bloodstream for excretion, and that's where some of the other detoxification organs are coming into play. But what does phase 3 use? Amazing. It uses lots of fiber and lots of water. So fiber, this sticky substance that we have from our diet, through the intestinal tract, the intestinal tract is connected there to the liver, but through the intestinal tract, your body allows the fiber to take these now not so highly poisonous substances that have been broken down, but they can't stay in the system, because if they stay in the system, folks, they're still toxic. They're just not super poisons. They've been broken down into their molecular form, and they have been deactivated to some point, a little bit less toxic, but now your body has to rid your system of it. Because if your body doesn't rid your system of it, it goes back into the bloodstream. And that's what we need to understand in a huge way, is that that fiber, if it's not there and phase 2 is done, where are these toxins going? They are entering back into the bloodstream. Your body is trying to store them, trying to put them places. But that's when, my friends, we get toxic overload. We have issues because those toxins begin to irritate cells. They begin to feed our cancers. It's very, very important that we understand that if we don't have enough fiber in our diet, our system can't pick up those toxins and begin to flush them out. And how does fiber move in the system? It doesn't have a pump. It definitely doesn't have anything to, of course, our body has muscle contractions. It's called peristalsis movement, but it can contract all it likes. I like to give the example of, I don't know if you've ever been on a water slide, but I remember taking my kids to a water park, and there's a big water slide, and we get to the top or whatever, and for whatever reason the water had stopped, And, you know, my kids are looking at me like, am I just dragging myself down here? No, you need water to go down the slide to get to the pool at the bottom. So anyway, water came back on. We had a great time, went from the top to the bottom in seconds. But imagine there was no water coming down that slide, right? You would literally be dragging yourself down. Sure, you'll get to the bottom eventually, but imagine the damage you're doing to your butt as you go down. So that water is so important to get the fiber moving, and that fiber is picking up the toxins. So here's the other thing is, if you're not eliminating regularly, you are storing a lot of toxic waste, because as it's coming out of phase 2 and into phase 3, the natural process for your body is to go through the intestinal tract and eventually the colon. So of course, if those toxins don't have enough fiber, it sits and sits and sits. It enters back into the bloodstream. And here's I wouldn't say the worst part, because the worst part is those toxins end up feeding diseases, especially our cancers. They end up creating, of course, your system, your other organs start to take a role. So now your skin is saying, wow, this is just too many toxins for my bloodstream. And so it could come out in rashes. It could come out in, you know, skin abrasions, raised skin, circulation's inhibited. Of course, you're super fatigued, because guess what? Those toxins end up going back into the liver, because your body's like, okay, let's try this again, because we can't stay in the bloodstream. Your system knows, and my system knows, that all of these toxins create disease and trouble. So what can we do to make sure phase 1 of our liver is working optimally? I just want to bring you back to understand that through phase 1, you need tons of B vitamins. You need antioxidants, you need vitamin E, you need vitamin C. So many people know there are foods that are high in vitamin C. Of course, you've got the very obvious ones, which are your citrus fruit. But I'll tell you, a kiwi is higher in vitamin C than an orange. Broccoli is higher in vitamin C than an orange. Here's the thing about vitamin C. It's a water-soluble vitamin. So when it's heated, you actually kill the vitamin C. So very important for us to understand that eating a diet rich in vitamin C, which is even in your spinach, not just your fruits and vegetables, but yes, we need to have a good amount of vitamin C. You need vitamin E. Vitamin E is found abundantly in your walnuts, in your avocados. Many of your other nuts and seeds are rich in vitamin E. You also need lots of B vitamins. B vitamins are found in your nuts and seeds, in your squashes have a lot of B vitamins, your oats have a lot of B vitamins, your buckwheat, your millet, your quinoa. These are loaded with B vitamins. These are very, very important for that phase 1 detoxification of the initial poisons that come through the system. So I know, you know, we want to hear about how can I cleanse my liver and how can I flush out the toxins? Well, number 1, we have to reduce our toxic overload. And number 2, we need to make sure our liver has all the right nutrients to perform detoxification. The other thing, especially for phase 2, we need to have lots of antioxidants and phytochemicals, and you need your beta-carotene. We talk about the carotenoids that are needed. That comes from your orange vegetables, your squashes, your sweet potato, your carrots, your peppers, your apricots. They're very, very high in beta-carotene. These things help with that very important part of phase 2. The other thing that's needed for phase 2 detoxification is sulfur. Sulfur is found abundantly in garlic and onion. So it's very important to eat these foods. And again, I mean, I would say in abundance, but that doesn't mean that, you know, we need to go and be loading up and overeating on all of these things. But it's very important for us to do phase 2 detoxification with that sulfur, with that garlic. And I'll tell you something. We talked about the glutathione, and I want to bring you back to that. because this is very important. Now, yes, of course, it is important. It is a natural antioxidant, but it's found in small amounts, and that's all your phase 2 needs, in your raw, uncooked vegetables. So mostly your cruciferous, so not just your cruciferous, sorry, mostly your leafy greens. And it is a very, very important precursor to your antioxidants, which are so important for phase 1 and phase 2, because these phytochemicals are precursors to your antioxidants. It's what gives your antioxidants their superpower. And where is that found? It's found in your dark leafy green vegetables, your spinach, your cauliflower, your kale, your cabbage. But if you eat your cruciferous raw, you will probably do your stomach a lot of trouble. You want to eat your lettuce raw, your cucumbers raw, your celery raw. And it doesn't mean you can't cook with celery or onions, but having, I want you to understand, for that phase 2 process, you really need a good amount of raw food in your diet in order for phase 2 to bring its very, very poisonous, highly reactive poisons, chemicals, and pollutants to a substance that can then enter into the bloodstream. If you saw in there, mangoes are also very rich in your beta-carotene. Believe it or not, but even bananas and the potassium that they have play an important role. And even for even for your vitamin B is important, because that's found also in bananas. So there is a abundance of nutrients that are important for phase 1 and phase 2 of detoxification. And you also saw that the amino acids are extremely important. Well, to get all 8 amino acids, there definitely needs to be a combination of your beans with your grains, and they don't have to happen at the same time. But did you know that buckwheat, it has complete 8 amino acids? Same with your millet. Same with hemp. Hemp has all 8 amino acids. So there are plant foods that are complete proteins and very important. Because if we refer to just, if we go with just, oh, I'm going to have some lean meats, I'm going to have my fish, I need the protein, the uric acid that is produced and the amount of toxic waste, because 40% of all animal products produce waste in the body, that 40% is now going back through the liver, not to help with detoxification, but to contribute to it. Plus, we put cream on our skin. Plus, we used, laundry detergent. Plus, we went outside and took a breath. So, understanding that reducing your natural toxic load helps your liver breathe and detoxify. And don't forget that fiber is so important for phase 3. We must have a large leafy green salad every day. And I know some of my clients have talked to them and say, I'm a little tired of eating salads, or my salads are boring, or it's cold outside, I don't want to eat a salad. But you need the fiber, and you just aren't going to get enough fiber. Yes, there's fiber in your beans. Yes, there's fiber in your quinoa. Yes, there's fiber in your millet, and there's fiber in your fruits. But this kind of fiber that you need to keep your liver clean is found in your leafy green salads, which we need to eat without the vinegar. So here's the joke, and many people have heard me say this before, that vinegar is highly toxic for the system. People are taking their healthy fibrous salad, what an oxymoron here, their healthy fibrous salad, and they put vinegar with oil on it. Well, vinegar is wine fermented. It's poison to the liver. So the liver is like, thanks for the salad, but now I have to get rid of the poison that you put on top of it. Same thing with any dressings made from dairy products, or anytime we have dairy products. So many times I think, oh, I'm going to have this healthy granola in my yogurt. Well, thank you very much for, having a gluten-free, no sugar granola, but I have to deal with the poison that you've used in these dairy products. So lessening the toxic load on your body is so important. The less work your liver has to do of taking poisons down to their molecular state that can go back into the bloodstream or out the colon, ideally that's where it's trying to go, or out the kidneys, then it has the opportunity to do what the other things that it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you with storing glucose and making the glucose. It's supposed to help you with the vitamin D. It's supposed to help you to also store and regulate your nutrients. And so important for most everybody I meet today, balancing your hormones. Many of us have a hormone imbalance. We release too much cortisol because we're stressed out. Our thyroids are not functioning properly. Our female or male sex hormones are way off. Our periods are off. We're having hot flashes. Folks, these are all hormone imbalances. These are little signals or big signals saying from your liver, I need help. So yes, your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your grains, your seeds, your beans are all very important, but we can't miss the raw component of our day. A big, 2 to 3 cups of fruit before we have our breakfast, a big salad before we have our lunch, and of course, the liver needs a break. So going through some fasting is very, very important. And we're going to talk next week about specific fasts and specific supplements that actually help with the liver detoxification process. And hopefully next week you will also be able to hear from Keen, who went through 3 different detoxes for her liver and her gallbladder. And water, by the way, is so important, as I mentioned, to keep the blood thin. And the liver uses so much water because, of course, your blood, which is going through your liver, is like almost 90% water in the cytoplasm. So that's important. And this is Keen. And I'm going to tell you that when I met her, she called herself a meatitarian. And you should get a chance to meet her next week. But, we have a before and after picture. And although she lost like 25 pounds, that's not even really why she came to see me. She was about to lose her gallbladder, and her surgeon basically had told her that we'll schedule this for about a month time because her gallbladder was just full of gallstones. And why is the gallbladder full of gallstones? These are bile salts. These are bile salts that begin to calcify because the blood is thick. And this, again, is biles produced from the liver. So when I saw that she was having a gallbladder issue, I knew her liver was compromised. So we had to do a big flush on her liver. And I tell you, Keen probably let go of a minimum of 200 stones that weren't just stuck in her gallbladder, but also in her liver. But it's not the first client that this has happened to. This is a story that's told over and over again. She's just brave enough to share it. But when your liver's in crisis, your gallbladder's in crisis. When your liver's in crisis, your hormones are in crisis. Your liver's in crisis, your entire body's in crisis. Because the reality is, if you aren't changing the garbage, if you aren't helping to detoxify the place, the whole house will stink. And I just want to remind you, as I do with almost every single seminar, that even if you are making healthy choices, if you are stressed out, you are overproducing cortisol and adrenaline in your system, and that's like pretty much equivalent to being an alcoholic with the amount of toxins that your liver has to metabolize and try to detoxify. And so how do we detoxify the liver? Next week, we're going to talk specifically about the foods, the supplements, the juicing that you can do, and what other quote unquote superfoods that you can add that specifically help to clean up the liver. And I'll tell you that if you can think about it right now, that your liver and my liver has to work every time we eat because it has to store that glucose, and then it has to regulate that glucose, and it has to take the pesticides off our food. It's working very hard. It gets such a nice break when we stop eating. So I'm not saying we shouldn't eat, because you need food to survive, but a great way to help with this process is to go through a detox. I want to remind you that from now until the 25th of December, you get 10% off your detox by using, and I will put it in the chat, 10 off detox. Use that coupon code. I highly recommend that you do not wait until after the holidays to do your detox. You might need to do one after the holidays, but if you've got a toxic overload, you don't want to enter into the holidays knowing that you may eat some things. You will eat, let's get real. Even Carolyn's going to have a piece of pie. That you will eat some things. You will eat some things that are going to add a toxic overload to your body. You will probably have some late nights. So give your liver the break that it needs, and do a little bit of a cleanse before the holidays, and after the holidays, maybe do a bigger one. Also, you know, I hear this every December. Customers will come in the store and say, "Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna do my detox after the holidays, like in January." I'm like, "Don't you think that's a good idea?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's everybody's idea. So you should book early," because we get booked up really fast, and then we get a lot of disappointed customers when they call for a detox and we say, "Oh, we don't have a spot for another 7 days." They're like, "What? I feel so horrible with all the Christmas cake I ate." So anyway, and you can, of course, we're going to talk next week of how you can detoxify on your own as well. You don't have to use the Energy Shack. You can save yourself also some money, but I will put in the comment. I'm going to go into the comments right now, and 10 off detox. It's not on our website, but you are all must be getting the emails because you're on tonight. But by using that coupon code, you can get 10% off your detox. And, you know, even if it's just a little one, I recommend you really clean up before the holidays and don't go crazy during the holidays, because that's no fun either. I'm going to go through the questions in the chat, and mayo does have vinegar. Yes, many things have vinegar in it. Read your labels. Vinegar is used as a preservative. If you guys have any questions right now, I will just answer them as we wrap up the session. But all your condiments, ketchup, mustard, relish, those are all full of vinegar. Vinegar, like scientifically proven, I'm not just saying this because I'm Carolyn, scientifically proven, vinegar is metabolized in the liver just like alcohol. Yes, even your apple cider vinegar, you are like basically, if you're drinking that every morning, you are an alcoholic. It's really bad. It's really bad for the system. So generally, we have a question here, and congratulations to Cynthia, by the way. She is jumping into her gallbladder flush. And I'm not, just so you know, folks, I am not going to share the details of that gallbladder flush next week. I'm going to give you an idea of it. I'm going to share some other details of a cleanse, because the gallbladder flush is so aggressive. I only give it to people that I'm monitoring or on my program. And if you haven't booked a consultation with me, $35 for 30 minutes, it will change your life with the information that we'll be sharing with you. So if your bowels are not moving, Lenovo, then I would say that it's not just a water issue. Most likely you're not having enough fiber. Are there any sauces I can recommend that don't have vinegar? Make your own. Yeah. Energy Shack has tons. Hummus generally is used with citric acid or lemon juice, but I have stopped buying any condiments for my family. We pretty much make everything ourselves because it's pretty simple, just using lemon juice instead. But besides your soy sauce or Bragg's, which is unfermented, it's not even a sauce, but those don't have vinegar in it. But all of them on the shelf use vinegar because it's also as a preserver and it cures things. So that's generally, I don't know any sauces that don't have vinegar in it. Even the healthy ones that are, you know, at your health food stores. Most people don't know that vinegar is toxic for the liver. Most people don't know that. They only look, just like caffeine and cacao, which have very high antioxidants and tons of flavonoids. Nobody looks at, but it's super high in caffeine, and caffeine also poisons the liver. So people don't look at that. Why? I think there's just too much money and too many manufacturers that produce these things that either don't want to let the information out or maybe don't know. So is warm water good for the liver? Trisha, that's a great question. Warm water is good for the entire body because, as you know, your internal temperature is like 37 degrees. So if you're having anything colder or hotter than that, the system goes into stress. So is it specifically good for the liver? Probably it would get warm because that's what your body does by the time it gets there. But I'll tell you, if you put lemon in your water in the morning, the liver loves that. It's full of antioxidants and very high in vitamin C. So it is a wonderful flush for your liver and kidney. So pepper sauce is always made with vinegar. I don't know any pepper sauce that isn't made with vinegar. And is there any connection with the liver function and waking up with puffy eyes? That's a very good question. So almost every ailment is connected to the liver. That's the reality. So puffy eyes can definitely be a sign of a compromised liver. It can also be a circulation issue. It can simply be an allergen issue. A respiratory issue can also make to puffy eyes. So again, if you just clean up the diet, as I spoke to a person this week, a client who has a serious heart condition and the doctors can't figure out the details. And I try to encourage them in a way that is not minimizing the situation, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you have puffy eyes. It doesn't matter what ultimately is wrong with the heart. If you can just apply these principles of health that I'm giving you in these 8 laws, it all fixes itself. Because your body knows your eyes shouldn't be puffy, and your body knows that that heart valve is off. So when we can follow the laws of health, your body does what it's supposed to do. It just heals itself. So Nancy, it's a great question about the eyes. It could be a whole bunch of factors, but if you go on a bit of a detox and then really eat along the laws of health, it should be able to fix. A couple more questions before we wrap up, and there's the coupon code inside the chat again. Thank you, Suzanne. Is green tea good for the liver? That is a great question. Green tea is very high in antioxidants, cancer-fighting antioxidants. So, but this brings me back to my salad with vinegar. Well, that salad is so good for you, but unfortunately, the liver has to metabolize that vinegar as a poison. So green tea has tons of antioxidants, which, as we learned, is great for phase 1 of detoxification, but unfortunately, it comes with caffeine, which is now a poison that also has to be filtered out by the liver. So I recommend you get your antioxidants instead of green tea. You get them naturally from your berries, from your beets, from any dark leafy green vegetables are a great source of antioxidants. Your black beans are high in them, pinto beans are high in them, your gala apples are high in antioxidants. And dandelion tea, yes, so now we're getting into part 2, which will be next week. So dandelion is extremely powerful for the liver, and we are going to talk about that. But understand that just because I said dandelion is very powerful for the liver in cleansing it, we should not drink dandelion tea all day, because then it interrupts digestion and puts stress on the digestive organs and ultimately the liver. So you want to drink your dandelion tea at night on an empty stomach, and don't drink it every day. Do like, you know, a week of it or a month of it if you have a bad liver. So again, I always like to make sure people understand that when I do talk about superfoods or supplements, They are for temporary healing for a short period of time, not forever. You guys had some great questions tonight. I hope this was valuable information. I hope you really think, as we talked about in the very beginning of the seminar, that your toxic impact on your liver matters. Be careful with buy organic when you can. If you can't, bless your food and eat it. But buy organic when you can. Switch your creams for maybe coconut oil. You know, take away any kind of scents. I know perfume makes you smell pretty, but it's just toxins. Get rid of the air fresheners. Use vinegar, not in your body, but to clean surfaces instead of all that, you know, Lysol. So really try to be intentional about reducing your toxic load, and join us next week when I'm going to talk about the specific detoxes that you can do for your liver. Tell your friends, because this is going to be excellent. Have a very good night, everyone, and thanks for coming out.